Hello Dub Nation, it's always a thrill to connect with you, especially as we're about to reveal the latest news that could shape the fate of our beloved Golden State Warriors. But before we dive into this whirlwind of information, let me make a friendly request. Show us some love by clicking the like button to strengthen our bond, and hey, if you are not subscribed yet, join our channel for a thrilling and emotional journey. Don't forget to turn on notifications to stay ahead of the game.
Steve Kerr says Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors must learn from their mistakes. The Golden State Warriors are off to a bumpy start this season. After a blazing hot beginning, they've cooled down, now sitting at 5-4 after dropping 3 of their last 4 games. Their most recent loss, a 121-116 defeat to the Sacramento Kings, was a tough one to swallow. Despite a strong performance, including a triple-double from Russell Westbrook, the Warriors couldn't quite get over the hump. Head coach Steve Kerr made it clear after the game, Jonathan Kuminga and the rest of the squad need to learn from these moments, especially when it comes to valuing every single possession. Jonathan attacked, played aggressively, and gave a fantastic effort, Kerr said. But the lesson for him, and for our team, is understanding how important each possession is. I thought the game shifted with a few turnovers midway through the second quarter. The Warriors were short-handed against the Kings. Stephen Curry missed the game due to illness, Jimmy Butler sat out with lower back soreness, and Draymond Green was sidelined with a right rib contusion. That meant the young core had to step up, and they did. Kuminga posted 24 points and 9 rebounds, while Will Richard added 30 and Moses Moody dropped 28. Still, it wasn't enough to seal the win. The team's 18 turnovers proved costly. Despite the loss, Kuminga continues to show encouraging progress this season. After signing a new 2-year deal just before the season tipped off, he's quickly proving his worth. There's been plenty of speculation about his future, with trade eligibility opening up after January 15th, but Kuminga is keeping his focus where it belongs, on the court. So far, he's averaging 17.2 points, 7.1 rebounds, and 3.1 assists, shooting 51.4% from the field in just over 30 minutes per game. His energy, athleticism, and growing confidence are giving the Warriors a glimpse of what their future might look like. Now it's all about consistency, and learning from those growing pains. If Kuminga and the Warriors can tighten up the details, there's no doubt they'll find their rhythm again soon. The loss to Sacramento raised familiar questions about Golden State's depth and their ability to close games without their veteran leaders. While the young players continue to show flashes of potential, Kerr emphasized that the team's margin for error has become much thinner this season. Without Curry's leadership on the floor, the Warriors' offense often struggled to find rhythm, leaning heavily on isolation plays and fast break opportunities, rather than the fluid ball movement that once defined their dynasty years. Kerr acknowledged that the team's identity is still a work in progress. "We've got to rediscover who we are as a group," Kerr explained. "It's not just about scoring or defending, it's about playing with purpose and trust. The young guys are learning that every decision matters, especially when the game tightens up." Kuminga's performance has become a bright spot amid the team's early inconsistency. His growing assertiveness on both ends of the floor has drawn attention not only from teammates but also from analysts across the league. Many see this as a pivotal year for the 21-year-old forward, a season that could define his long-term role with the Warriors. Several players have echoed Kerr's message about discipline and accountability. Draymond Green, speaking to reporters after practice, praised Kuminga's progress but noted that the next step for the young core is maintaining focus under pressure. "You can see the growth," Green said. "JK's attacking, rebounding, defending, doing everything we've asked. But as a team, we've got to stop giving games away. It's about locking in and finishing strong." The Warriors' upcoming schedule doesn't offer much relief. They face a tough stretch of opponents, including back-to-back games against the Denver Nuggets and Dallas Mavericks, followed by a rematch with Sacramento. For Kerr, these challenges present an opportunity to test his team's resilience and adaptability. Golden State's coaching staff has also hinted at potential adjustments to the rotation. With Andrew Wiggins struggling to find consistency and Chris Paul managing his minutes, Kerr may continue to rely on Kuminga and Moses Moody for extended stretches. That shift could accelerate the team's transition into a new era, one where the young core gradually takes on a larger share of responsibility. Internally, the message remains clear. The Warriors believe they can compete at a high level, but only if they clean up their mistakes and tighten their execution in critical moments. "It's all part of the process," Kerr added. "We've been through ups and downs before. What matters is how we respond." As the season unfolds, all eyes will remain on Kuminga, not just for his numbers, but for his ability to grow into the kind of player who can carry the torch for the next generation of Warriors basketball. Steve Kerr responds to Al Horford's rough start. It was to be expected. Steve Kerr isn't sounding the alarm just yet. After another tough night for Al Horford, who missed all 8 of his field goal attempts in the Warriors' loss to the Sacramento Kings, the Golden State coach offered a calm, measured perspective on the veteran's early struggles. Horford, one of the Warriors' biggest off-season additions, joined the team to fill the void left by Kevin Looney. But with the 40-year-old center off to a rocky start, shooting just 20.8% from three-point range, 5-for-24 so far, questions are naturally beginning to surface. Kerr, however, insists that patience is key. "I actually thought Al played a great game tonight," Kerr said. "The shots just didn't fall. He took the right looks, and they all felt good coming out of his hands. They'll start dropping. He's Al Horford. We know exactly who he is." Horford's early slump doesn't seem to worry his coach, who emphasized that adapting to a new system and teammates often takes time, even for seasoned veterans. "It's a slow start, sure," Kerr continued. "But that's to be expected when you're joining a new team and learning new tendencies. I'm not worried about Al at all. His defense, his rebounding, his leadership, those things are already showing." The decision to bring in Horford came with calculated risk. Golden State's roster already leans heavily on experience, with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green all over 35. Adding another veteran could have compounded concerns about age and stamina, but Kerr saw Horford's intelligence and versatility as the perfect stabilizer for the Warriors' second unit. Still, the adjustment period has been bumpy. Kerr has had to experiment with new rotations, balancing Horford's minutes and occasionally testing smaller, faster lineups. Those changes have been both a necessity and a challenge for a team that struggled with consistency last season. At this stage of his career, Horford isn't expected to be a nightly double-double threat or the team's anchor at center. Kerr made it clear that the veteran's role will be situational, based on matchups and lineup flow rather than status. "Al brings experience and poise, but we're going to keep our flexibility," Kerr said. "We'll use him in the right moments. That's what this team needs." Even so, the Warriors need more from Horford on the offensive end. Going 0-for-8 from the field is tough for any player, but especially for someone of his caliber. His ability to space the floor and knock down open shots will be crucial to the Warriors system, particularly when Curry sits. Horford, ever the professional, hasn't made excuses. After the loss, he took full responsibility for his poor shooting night and reaffirmed his commitment to finding rhythm. "I just have to keep working," Horford said quietly in the locker room. "The looks are there. I'm not going to change my approach. The shots will fall." The Warriors believe him. And for a franchise built on patience, trust, and long-term vision, that belief might be exactly what Al Horford needs to turn things around. The conversation around Horford's early season form has started to grow louder within league circles. Analysts have pointed out that his current shooting slump mirrors a trend seen in several veteran players who join new systems late in their careers. It takes time to recalibrate to different tempos, spacing, and responsibilities. For Horford, the challenge is not only physical but also tactical. Golden State's offensive system relies heavily on constant movement, quick decisions, and seamless chemistry. That rhythm takes months, sometimes longer, to fully grasp, even for players as intelligent as Horford. Draymond Green acknowledged as much after the game, defending his new teammate while highlighting what Horford already brings to the locker room. "AL's one of the smartest players in this league," Green said. "He's figuring out our system, and that doesn't happen overnight. What people don't see is how much he's communicating, how he helps organize our defense, how calm he is under pressure. That stuff matters." Inside the organization, there's a clear understanding that Horford's value extends far beyond his shooting percentages. The coaching staff has praised his mentorship of younger players like Jonathan Kuminga and Tracy Jackson-Davis, both of whom have leaned on the veteran for guidance in positioning and defensive reads. Kerr, known for emphasizing culture and leadership, views Horford's presence as a long-term investment in the team's stability. "AL's not just here for what he does on the court," Kerr explained. "He brings professionalism, perspective, and a level of maturity that's invaluable to a team trying to blend experience with youth." Still, results will matter sooner rather than later. The Warriors, hovering around the middle of the Western Conference standings, can't afford prolonged inefficiency from key rotation pieces. Horford's shooting touch will need to come around, especially with the team facing upcoming games against physically imposing frontcourts like Denver's Nikola Jokic and Minnesota's Rudy Gobert. The pressure, however, isn't fazing Horford. Throughout his career, he's built a reputation for steady composure and accountability, traits that earned him respect during his years in Boston and Philadelphia. "I've been through stretches like this before," Horford said after Thursday's practice. "You just stay with it. I know what I'm capable of. My job is to help this team win in any way I can." Within the Warriors' locker room, that mindset resonates. Younger players see Horford's response as a model of professionalism. No panic, no excuses, just work. For Kerr, that example might be just as valuable as any three-pointer Horford eventually hits. "Every player hits a wall at some point," Kerr said. "But the great ones find ways to push through. That's what AL's doing, and that's why I trust him." As the Warriors navigate the challenges of a grueling early season schedule, the hope is that Horford's patience and discipline will begin to pay off. If his shot returns, as history suggests it will, the narrative could shift quickly. For now, Golden State is standing firm behind its veteran addition, confident that the early struggles are just a temporary chapter in what they believe will be a meaningful contribution over the long haul. Steve Kerr praises Tracy Jackson-Davis. "We'll need him when Draymond's off the floor." Tracy Jackson-Davis finally got his shot, and he made it count. After spending several games on the sidelines, the young center returned to action for the Golden State Warriors in their 118-117 win over the Phoenix Suns. In just 15 minutes, Jackson-Davis put up 7 points, grabbed 2 rebounds, and handed out 3 assists, small numbers on paper, but a performance that made a noticeable difference. His presence brought energy, hustle, and defensive stability to a team that's been searching for consistent interior play. It also marked his first appearance since missing back-to-back road games in Milwaukee and Indiana, decisions made by head coach Steve Kerr as part of ongoing rotation adjustments. Following the narrow victory, Kerr was quick to highlight what stood out most about the 24-year-old's performance, and when the team will rely on him most. "We wanted to get Tracy out there when Draymond was resting," Kerr said. "He gives us that rim protection, that defensive presence inside. He dives hard to the rim, he plays with force, and it was great to see him be so assertive." Kerr went on to praise Jackson-Davis's effort on both ends of the floor, emphasizing the impact he brings as a traditional big man, a role that still holds value in a system built around speed and spacing. "He was aggressive around the basket, keeping plays alive, and defensively he was fantastic," Kerr continued. "When Draymond's not on the court, we're going to need Tracy. He gives us something no one else really does." Jackson-Davis, who started 37 games for the Warriors last season, has already proven he can handle NBA-level minutes. He averaged 6.6 points, 5.0 rebounds, and 1.7 assists per game as a rookie, showcasing toughness and efficiency in limited opportunities. But his more traditional style, operating mainly in the paint rather than stretching the floor, has made his fit in Golden State's system more complicated this season. The rise of rookie center Quinton Post, a floor-spacing big who can shoot from deep, has shifted the team's offensive priorities. In Kerr's system, spacing is everything, and Post's ability to drag defenders out of the paint has opened new looks for Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. Meanwhile, the addition of Al Horford, another veteran who thrives in pick-and-pop situations, has further reduced Jackson-Davis's opportunities. With Post developing quickly and Horford commanding steady minutes, Kerr has had limited room to incorporate a paint-oriented big into the rotation. Still, Jackson-Davis remains one of the team's most valuable interior defenders, something Kerr is acutely aware of as the season unfolds. Against physical teams like Denver and Minnesota, his rim protection and rebounding could prove crucial. "We're going to need everyone," Kerr said. "Tracy has a role here. There will be games where his energy and toughness around the rim will change everything for us." For now, Jackson-Davis continues to stay ready, the mark of a player who understands that opportunity can come suddenly in an 82-game season. His performance against the Suns may have been a reminder to everyone, including Kerr, that sometimes, the Warriors still need an old-school presence to anchor a modern system. The Warriors' dream trade target after the Pelicans' disastrous start. The Golden State Warriors may have found their dream trade target, and it might be coming from a team in free fall. Despite a solid 4-3 start to the 2025-26 season, the Warriors have made one thing clear over the first 2 weeks: they still lack a true secondary playmaker. As much as Stephen Curry continues to orchestrate the offense with his usual brilliance, There's a growing sense that Golden State could use another creator, someone who can handle the ball, space the floor, and defend multiple positions. With the New Orleans Pelicans off to a nightmare start, 6 straight losses and no signs of stability, that need may align perfectly with opportunity. Enter Trey Murphy III, a player who fits the Warriors' DNA. Around the league, every front office keeps a mental list of players they value, whether or not those players are actually available. Murphy has long been one of those names, a 6'8" wing with elite length, defensive instincts, and a pure repeatable shooting motion that holds up under playoff pressure. If a player like that suddenly becomes even potentially available, smart teams take notice. Murphy's combination of size, athleticism, and versatility checks every box the Warriors typically covet. He's the type of wing who can slide seamlessly into Steve Kerr's motion-heavy offense, play off Curry's gravity, and hold his own defensively in switch-heavy schemes. He doesn't need the ball to make an impact, but he's skilled enough to create his own shot when needed. He's not just a fit, he's the kind of player who could extend Golden State's title window. Why Murphy makes sense for Golden State. The Warriors have already retooled their roster around experience and leadership. The off-season addition of Jimmy Butler gave them toughness, defense, and another reliable shotmaker who can create in the half-court. But even with Butler in the mix, the Western Conference remains brutally competitive, filled with teams that can throw waves of athletic wings at you. That's where someone like Murphy becomes invaluable. He's the bridge between the old guard, Curry, Draymond Green, Butler, and the next generation of Warriors talent. His ability to defend multiple positions, hit threes at a high clip, and run the floor would give Kerr more flexibility in lineups, allowing him to keep pace with younger, faster teams while maintaining defensive integrity. He's exactly the kind of player you want next to a core like that, said one Western Conference scout. He can switch, he can shoot, he plays with energy, and he doesn't need 15 shots a night to be effective. That's the blueprint for longevity around stars like Steph. The strategic fit. Murphy's value extends beyond the box score. Defensively, his wingspan and timing allow him to thrive in switching schemes, something Kerr has leaned on heavily during his tenure. Offensively, he stretches defenses to the breaking point. When he's on the floor, opponents are forced to respect his shot, opening the driving lanes that Curry, Butler, and Green depend on to generate movement and mismatches. In short, he's the kind of two-way connector the Warriors haven't consistently had since their prime championship years. If Golden State were able to land Murphy, it would give Kerr the freedom to experiment, running small ball lineups with Green at center, using Butler and Murphy interchangeably as defensive anchors on the wings, and maintaining spacing without sacrificing defense. Timing and opportunity. The question, of course, is whether the Pelicans are truly ready to make changes. Teams rarely move young, talented wings like Murphy unless the season has gone completely off track, and New Orleans seems to be trending that way. A 6-game losing streak has already fueled speculation that the front office might consider reshaping its core around Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. If that happens, Golden State would be foolish not to make a call. There's precedent for this kind of move. The Warriors front office has long balanced loyalty to its veterans with an awareness of timing, knowing when to act and when to wait. Bringing in Murphy would not only fill an immediate need but also prepare the team for the inevitable transition from the Curry era to whatever comes next. The bigger picture. Golden State still believes its championship window is open. Curry remains elite, Butler has brought a new edge, and Green continues to anchor the defense. But the league has evolved, and the Warriors know that sustained success now requires depth, athleticism, and positional versatility. Murphy offers all of that, and he fits the Warriors' culture of unselfishness and intelligence. If the Pelicans' struggles continue, and if New Orleans starts listening to offers, this could become one of the most intriguing trade opportunities of the season. For the Warriors, it's not just about chasing one more title, it's about finding the right piece to bridge their past greatness with the future that's quickly arriving. And Trey Murphy, by all accounts, might be that bridge. What a trade could look like. While the idea of bringing Trey Murphy to the Bay is enticing, the logistics are where the conversation gets complicated. Murphy is still on his rookie scale contract and represents one of New Orleans' most valuable long-term assets. The Pelicans would only consider moving him if they were convinced that their current build isn't working, or if a deal brought back immediate help and future flexibility. For Golden State, that could mean parting with one of their young players and possibly a future first-round pick. Names like Brandon Podziemski, Jonathan Kuminga, or Moses Moody could surface in trade discussions, depending on how aggressive the Warriors' front office is willing to be. The Warriors have shown in the past that they are not afraid to make bold moves when the opportunity is right. The Jimmy Butler trade last year was a reminder that this organization still thinks in championship windows, not rebuilds. "You never want to waste the final prime years of a generational player," said a league executive familiar with Golden State's mindset. If they believe Trey Murphy gives them another real shot at a title, they'll make the call. That's how they've always operated. Why the timing matters. The early season in the NBA is often full of overreactions, but for some teams, it's also a wake-up call. New Orleans' 6 straight losses have exposed deep issues on both ends of the floor: inconsistency in shot creation, defensive breakdowns, and an inability to close out games. The pressure is mounting on the Pelicans' front office to do something. Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram have shown flashes, but the supporting cast hasn't clicked. Murphy's shooting and spacing were supposed to be part of the solution, yet as the team continues to falter, the organization might decide to explore structural changes rather than minor tweaks. For the Warriors, that uncertainty represents an opening, a narrow window that championship-caliber franchises are trained to recognize. Potential impact on the Warriors' system. If a trade for Murphy were to materialize, Steve Kerr would immediately gain a new set of options. He could deploy Murphy in smaller lineups alongside Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler, maximizing defensive versatility while keeping enough shooting on the floor to stretch opposing defenses. Murphy's ability to run the floor, spot up in transition, and defend both forward positions would fit perfectly in Kerr's fluid, read-and-react offense. It would also reduce the burden on Curry, allowing him to conserve energy for late-game stretches, a key factor as he enters his late 30s. "Kerr loves players who can make quick decisions," said a former Warriors assistant. "Murphy's one of those guys who doesn't overthink. Catch, read, move. That's exactly what keeps the system alive." Around the league, reactions and reality. Other teams are watching closely. Several Western Conference executives believe that if the Warriors were to land Murphy, it would re-establish them as a legitimate contender, not just for this season, but for the next 2 or 3 years. Meanwhile, for the Pelicans, trading Murphy would signal a major philosophical shift, from trying to build a balanced young core to prioritizing star-driven restructuring around Zion and Ingram. It could also lead to ripple effects across the conference, as other fringe contenders might feel pressure to act. Golden State adding Trey Murphy would be like when they brought in Andre Iguodala a decade ago, one scout noted. "He's not a superstar, but he's the kind of piece that completes the picture." The risk and the reward. Of course, there are risks on both sides. The Warriors would be betting on Murphy's upside and health, while giving up youth and potential flexibility. The Pelicans would be parting with one of the few players who truly fits a modern, switchable style of play. But both organizations are reaching inflection points. Golden State knows its championship core is aging but still capable of winning at the highest level with the right support. New Orleans, on the other hand, faces the harsh reality that potential doesn't always translate to progress. That's why this idea, still theoretical, but increasingly plausible, feels like more than just trade speculation. It's about timing, identity, and the constant push and pull between the future and the present. Looking ahead. The Warriors aren't in panic mode. Their 4-3 start shows promise, not crisis. But championship teams don't wait for problems to become obvious. They anticipate them. And right now their biggest challenge is clear: finding another dynamic two-way player who can both complement and someday carry forward the standards set by Curry, Green, and Butler. If the Pelicans' struggles continue and the lines of communication open, Trey Murphy could become the most realistic and impactful trade target on the board. Because in Golden State, the window is still open. And if history has taught anything, it's that when opportunity meets preparation, the Warriors rarely hesitate to make their move.